Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Well, I knew making this video was going to be inevitable. You know, the right wing truther Trumpers who are not truth people at all, they are whatever they are. But the people who are actual truthers that fell for this MNFer, well, let's just watch it here.
And released yesterday on Jeffrey Epstein, it left some lingering mysteries. One of the biggest ones is whether he ever worked for a American or foreign intelligence agency. The former Labor Secretary, who was Miami U.S. Attorney Alex Acosta, he allegedly said that he did work for an intelligence agency. So could you resolve whether or not he did? And also, could you say why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of the step?
Yeah, sure. If I
Could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
A desecration. Now, Trump has been using these manipulations lately, right? Like this victim consciousness manipulation bullshit. He's been using it. He used it with the Iran bombing, which was, the word obliteration. And then when he got called on it, he threw the pilots, the troops. You guys are disrespecting the troops, and this is a desecration. You're ruining the memory. These people are they're losing their families to these floods. How dare you bring up Jeffrey Epstein and all the things that are going, all these tragedies, the fires, the floods, tragedies. This manipulation, right? Like this victim consciousness bullshit. Like he's somehow, So the people that care about Jeffrey Epstein, the people who most care about Jeffrey Epstein, are right-wing Trump truthers. The people who thought Trump was going to bring an end to these pedos, all the Pizzagate people, all the fucking people who were QBs, the QAnon people. That's one of their main issues. These are, people who love Trump, and Trump was going to bring justice to this nightmare situation, even though he was one of Jeffrey Epstein's greatest buddies and pals, which we've seen over and over again. And so this is a slap in their face, right? And the reason I said in the beginning I was going to have to make this video so inevitably is that when I called out Trump's bullshit, fake-ass WWE assassination attempt that was just so performative, right? That, and he went for it then, too. Manipulation and all this stuff and fight, all that shit, right? Well, it looked like something that Vince McMahon produced. Like you were sitting in a WWE event, right? The reason that, that it was obviously bullshit with the whole thing. But the fact that he was bleeding from the ear, that a bullet just missed his head, and that he had fake fucking ketchup, right? That's why it's Ketchupgate. Because he went for I almost got shot in the, if a few other people got shot and Trump, some bullets flew through the crowd, it's one thing. But when Trump gets up and he's got fucking dried ketchup on his ear, and the Secret Service is allowing his head to be exposed, even though they don't know there's a second shooter, and he's pumping his fucking pudgy little fucking fingers in the air, balled into a gay little fist, and saying, fight. And then, it was just so obviously WWE. I go, oh my God, this thing's fake as fuck. It was the worst of the faked events. Like, there's lots of faked events, but Trump is just so stupid and so, like, non-committed. And he goes to the hospital, and he has no stitches, right, because he's not really hurt. His doctor said it was less than 2 centimeters because there was no real cut. Like, Trump could have at least gotten a cut on the thing. And then he wore a bandage on the thing, a giant fucking maxi pad for his convention. And they brought out these WWE people and Kid Rock and the Dana White and Hulk Hogan, all that bullshit. And she came out and said, fight, 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 with this big ass bandage. And there's people in the audience wearing the fucking bandage. And when one of my viewers said they watched like 60 different truther channels, and only 3 of them were mildly questioning whether this was fake or not. Only 3, and the 3 weren't even saying what I was saying. It was so fucking obviously fake, right? And he was doing that to you. Like, he's doing that to the fucking truth community. He's doing that to fucking Trumpers. He isn't hurting fucking Democrats. He wasn't hurting Joe Biden's people. He wasn't hurting the liberals. He's lying to you, right? He's bullshitting you. And now he's doing this with Jeffrey Epstein. He's making it sound like, oh, you guys are so obsessed with this. You guys are fucking crazy. Well, you guys, this is a desecration. I don't even know why we're talking about this. Like, it's the reporters that give a shit. The reporters aren't the one who give a shit. Plus, they dropped this Jeffrey Epstein in this time when there's all this other news going on. I mean, there's always something anyway, but this is a particular time when people who are, Christians are drowning. Christian kids are drowning in Texas and, a place like that. And it's like, let's just talk about Texas and these people, these poor people, they're drowning, and all the success we've had, the obliteration, and let's just talk about that. Why would we even talk about Jeffrey Epstein, my good friend Jeffrey Epstein? And so he's a piece of shit. Like, he's never been there for you, and he's just passed this big fucking beautiful bill that screws over the common man and the people that voted for him. They don't even know it yet. It's a massive fucking power grab. I mean, all the things there's that, I played that, that young lady who uploaded ChatGTP and talked about the dystopian nature of the bill. And it's completely fucked, right? And all these people are going to be thrown off of social services, and it's going to reduce all these things, and it's going to give all these, money and power to the elite. I mean, Trump just showed that he's an elite serving the elite, right? And now it's like Jeffrey Epstein thing, which we'll get into in a moment. But this is the people who were, who voted for Trump. I mean, if you voted for Trump because you felt like you had to vote for somebody, you knew Trump was a piece of shit, and you knew. But I don't know how you could. I mean, it's just like how you could even vote, especially after that thing. And you can't call yourself a truther if you voted for him, with some hope that he was going to do something. Like, that ship had sailed. They were just fucking, when he got worked on COVID and he put out Operation Warp Speed. There was like, your ability to, your desperation to vote for this motherfucker. It's fucking pathetic, right? But this piece of shit, right? Why are we even talking about that? Oh, I don't even know.
We have this, we have all of the things. And
Go back there.
Why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of the set?
Yeah, sure. If I
Pam,
could,
could I just interrupt for
Sure.
1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have...
Why is he talked about for years? He's been talked about for years because he was an elite fucking pedo that was human trafficking at least young girls with the rich and famous celebrities. He was palling around with Roman Polanski and Woody Allen, other pedos, and Donald J. Trump. They were seen palling around all the time. And he could have been working for Mossad. Who knows? Like, there's all this thought about him. But he was an elite fucking billionaire pedophile that had a weird fucking island where all this abuse would take place, right? It was like eyes wide shut shit. And a lot of people concerned about that kind of thing. He got a bullshit sentence, and then some woman in the Miami Herald ran a story. The guy was on basically house arrest, even though he had a prison sentence. They gave him a plea deal, and he kind of just, they didn't want to dive deep into his whole, all the friends he has, the Clintons and him. I mean, it was everybody. Like, so, who was involved? And Trump definitely was involved. Trump, the fucking creep. Trump definitely used Jeffrey Epstein's services. They were, he talked about. We'll get into his quote there in a moment. And so they went after him again, and then they suicided him. He didn't kill himself. Like, why would he do that? Fucking, he had all these people, rich and powerful people that would be implicated if his if you went to trial. And again, the lists are stupid. I'll get into that in a bit. I'll get into about how, because this is how the fucking right-wing QBs wreck the truth community. And all the people that fed into it, all you motherfuckers out there that fed into this bullshit, right? You wrecked it, and who gives a shit? The truth community wasn't going to solve anything anyway, but they wrecked it. Like it was better, and now it's not nearly as good. And they used it as a weapon against us, who just were calling, like people who were thoughtful people who had legitimate points of view. That, we'd get things wrong because, we're trying to expose such a massive amount of lying that, of course, you're going to, then you have to make assumptions about what the truth is because we're so far away from the truth. There's things in the truth community you're going to get wrong. Your speculation, the things you speculate about. But the one things we get right is that we understand that everything's fucking a bullshit story. It's a manipulative and in a bullshit system, right? And so these are the people that went out that were talking about Jeffrey Epstein. They cared about this thing. And it's Trump's people. Like he's saying, you guys are fucking, what's wrong with you guys? Because you promised to expose this thing. You and a bunch of your cronies. You fed into this because you knew people gave a shit about it. And now you're reversing yourself just like you did on Hillary Clinton. We'll go to those two things next, but here's the first thing.
We have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep?
Yeah, because, there was the other people that were involved with him. And it would be that easy for you to expose all those people. But you've already said with Hillary Clinton, the Hillary Clinton thing, let me show you that. I got that meme. I just covered that recently. Let me show that meme here.
Yeah, please. I don't think it's appropriate for me to talk about it. I think it's a tragic story.
This is about pardoning Hunter Biden.
You want to know the truth. And I felt that with Hillary Clinton, too. With Hillary Clinton, I could have done things to her that would have made your head spin. I thought it was a very bad thing. Take the wife of a president of the United States and put her in jail. And then I see the way they treat me. That's the way it goes. But I was very protective of her. Nobody would understand that, but I was. I think my people understand it. They used to say, lock her up, and I'd say, just relax, please. We won the election. I think it would be I think it would have been horrible for our country and we had her between the hammering of all of the files. And don't forget, she got a subpoena from the United States Congress. And then, after getting the subpoena, she destroyed everything that she was supposed to get. I thought it was so bad to take her and put her in jail, the wife of a president of the United States, and then when it's my turn, nobody thinks that way. I thought it was a very terrible thing. And she did a lot of very bad things. I'll tell you what, she was pretty evil. But in terms of the country and in terms of unifying the country, bringing it back, to have taken her and to have put her in jail, and I think you know the things as well as I do. There were some pretty bad acts that she did. I think it would have been very bad for our country. And a lot of my people, a lot of the MAGA, as they call them, but the base. And I think the base is 75% of the country.
So I downloaded this font back when I was just making picture videos. Trump managed to involve himself in 2 skeevy sex scandals. I've known Jeffrey for 15 years. Terrific guy. Trump booms from a speakerphone. He's a lot of fun to be with. It's even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do. And many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it. Jeffrey enjoys his social life. So he knew that Jeffrey Epstein was with young girls, or on the younger side. Trump was, he dated and flirted with, it's his daughter, for Christ's sakes, right? But he, this guy who was, he worked with Trump, at these beauty pageants, and he, it's possible, with all these people, you never know about what's legitimate or not. But he came out and was saying all these things about Trump. I showed you some of the video clips. And he said that Trump used to he bought all these beauty contests and pageants. And the Miss Teen USA, these teenage girls, he would have them stand in front of him and he'd examine them. And he was always looking for ones that looked like Ivanka, his daughter, because he was obsessed with her. That's what the dude said. Long before this stuff happened, with all this stuff. This is when Trump was running for president or, whatever. And, Trump is an absolute creep. He was with porn stars and other things. So when he says younger side, Trump was certainly, was with younger girls, right? And dated much younger women. And so when he means younger side, he means that he liked women who were not legal, girls who were not legal, right? That's the only thing that could mean. So Trump knew about it and was complicit in this stuff and hung out with them and partied with them, right? Which is well documented. And so he was never a guy who was going to go after Jeffrey Epstein because he was somebody who was at very least complicit and more than likely participated and partook. And there was this video of this young lady. I showed you the title of the video, and she's talking about the 4 times that Trump sexually assaulted her when she was like 13 years old, and they dressed her up to look like Ivanka in one of those times. And again, is it true? I mean, well, maybe not, but it definitely tracks with the kind of person that Trump is. Like, he's a scumbag. Like these beauty contest things, right? You like to be around very young women, which is fucking weird because the older you get, you can't even tell the ages of like people who look like in their 20s look like kids to you, right? As you get into your 40s and 50s. And so, it's a totally different generation. He was with women, he was sexual with women who were his daughter's age, which is, and then his saying how, the creeped out stuff he said about his daughter, that whole thing. I think I have that meme, and I'll play it here, what he said on The View about his daughter. And so it's just, he's an absolute creep.
It would be really disappointing. Not really. But it would depend on what was inside the magazine.
If she posed, it would be fine. But if they put her picture on...
Yeah, but it depends on what goes inside the magazine.
Well, see, that's her gripe. That's this girl's gripe.
And
People assume
nothing.
there'll be nude photos.
Right, you do assume that with
Misleading.
Playboy.
Okay,
But if there weren't, you wouldn't have an issue with it then. If they were using her to...
I don't think Ivanka would do that inside the magazine, although she does have a very nice figure. I've said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her.
Stop it! Oh, it's so weird. Stop
you know
it.
what? You are sick.
Isn't that terrible?
Well, you're known for saying
Is that
outrageous
terrible?
things, Mr. Trump.
Who are you, Woody Allen?
Is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time and do you feel
Wait, this is unbelievable.
unbelievable?
Let me go back a second.
We have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable.
This is him. This is how he deals with broken promises, right? Like he promised all the Trumpers that he was going to go, all the Republicans who want Hillary Clinton in fucking jail. He said, no, I protected her. I fucking protected her. Not only did he not like, all right, this will be too hard and, whatever. He protected her. He protected the the whole, idea of the presidency and the whole thing, right? Even though he's disrespected the presidency by tweeting in the middle of the night about Rosie O'Donnell and shit like that, right? Like petty little bitch-ass stuff that he's done, which I loved his first term. But, the stuff that he didn't do well was Operation Warp Speed, closing down the economy. He got completely puppeted and worked. And, he took a bunch of shit money, just like, he complained about Hunter Biden. He understood that Hunter Biden was corrupt, but when his, Jared fucking devil boy and Melania, his daughter, Ivanka, when they got $2 billion from the Saudi Arabians, right? Like, he understands corruption when the Bidens do it. But when he gets a $4 billion plane that he's going to cost the Americans another $4 billion plane is going to cost Americans another $6 million to fucking to refit it, make it into Air Force One, and then there's going to be, 2 more jets coming at $3 billion. But he's got to have his private planes. He's got to have the best private planes, and so like he's a piece of shit. Like, he's always been a piece of shit. He was never a fucking truther. He's always been about the elite. And now he's doing the same thing. This is how he deals with broken campaign promises. All these people were waiting for the truth to come out. The truth about JFK, which didn't come out. Truth about 9/11, which of course he's not going to even touch that. I mean, most of those dopes are post that level of the truth community. People who came in at Pizzagate. But the people who are obsessed with Jeffrey Epstein are almost all Republicans, right? And he's fucking saying that there's something wrong with you for wanting this thing to be resolved.
Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
And so some of the truthers, not truthers, you're not truthful people. If you voted for Trump, you lied to yourself. This guy's always been a piece of shit. And he gave you so much evidence during his first term. But it was there as the apprentice. I was psyched Trump was president because I knew what a piece of shit he was, right? I knew how selfish he was. He was making it, and he wasn't going to hide it because he just gets away with it. He can just con people constantly after going bankrupt 6 fucking times. He's not a good businessman. He's a fucking creep. Like, he can always, I mean, he's getting these women to marry him because of, I guess, his wealth and fame or whatever. But he's a disgusting pig, right? And he's like everything that you claim to hate. He was a Democrat till 2010, 2009, 2010 when Obama got elected, and he didn't like that shit, so he went with, fucking the Republican Party. But he'd always been Democrat, hanging out with the Clintons. There's pictures of that and shit. He's never been that guy. He's never been the guy that he claims to be. And he isn't going to make America great again. He's destroying he's looting what's left of American wealth for him and his rich buddies, right? The club that he desperately wants to be a part of. He wasn't a real billionaire when he got elected president. He was a fake billionaire, and now he's monetized his presidency like nothing that we've ever seen before. And this is what he does when he breaks campaign promises. He says that you're a fucking idiot for caring about Jeffrey Epstein, which is wonderful.
Sure. First, to back up on that, in February, I did an interview on Fox, and it's been getting a lot of attention because I was asked a question about the client list, and my response was, it's sitting on my desk to be reviewed, meaning the file, along with...
Not the client. There was no client list, right? And so here's the other piece to this. I was talking about this with my wife. Here's the other way dumbass fucking QB, QAnon, Q-tards wreck the truth community. I mean, it was, again, like, I'm not all sacred about it. I don't give a shit because it's just, the whole thing's a mess, right? It's hurt me, though, obviously. And, whatever. But, I had worked in 2 treatment centers with kids who were termed sexually reactive, young kids, and then teenage sex offenders. And these were kids, for the most part, who had been sexually abused and who had acted out sexually. And it's the worst of the worst, the dregs of the society. And some of the kids were worse than others. Some of them were hardcore pedophiles. Plus, my ex was a victim of a high level. Her dad was a high level CEO of a Fortune 500 company, and he had abused her, and her whole life was about that. Like, she was a victim, and that's the whole thing. So I was living through this stuff, right? This kind of fucking depraved stuff, and I did real work and had real knowledge about it. And then these right-wing dumb fucks came in and started just making shit up. And, when I went through my own, when I made my original videos that popped, Michelle Obama's 95% chance Michelle Obama's a dude. And, this other stuff that videos I made. I realized that when I was making the videos, I would use the pictures that showed Michelle Obama looking dudeish more than ones that didn't, right? And I would cherry pick the evidence to support my whatever my point of view was, right? And I realized that that wasn't cool. I went through a whole thing about journalistic integrity, and I'm not in journalism, but I had some sense of responsibility to my audience. And so, making outlandish claims just to get views and manufacturing evidence is a fucking huge problem in the truth community. And the right-wingers do it more than anybody else because they feel so self-righteous and justified that they think if they make something up, it's okay because they're doing it for the greater good. And it's fuck the truth community because it's all the stuff they use against us. Now, Jeffrey Epstein might have some documentation of things that he could use to blackmail people, whatever. Like whatever his deal was, whatever that is, the whole thing could be fake as far as we know. But, whatever his thing was, maybe he worked for Mossad, maybe he didn't. Maybe he was blackmailing people, maybe he didn't. Whatever it was. But there was no lists like the being published. Like, remember a lot of this came from QAnon drops, Q drops. And they were saying that this flight log to Jeffrey Epstein was, and they made shit up. These weren't accurate documents, and people didn't have access to it. And whatever Jeffrey Epstein had, to say he had a list, he had a phone record, he had a black book of people he knew, and Trump was one of the main people in it. And so, anybody that Jeffrey Epstein hang out with, like anybody else, you have your circle of people, and he had their names in it, people he was associated with. And there's people who went to that island, and there's ways that they could probably figure out who that was. Definite ways. They know everything. And so, but the right wingers, the fucking dumbass cubies, put out shit that wasn't real. They put out lists that weren't real. They put out flight logs that weren't real. And people bought into it because, they were desperate for this thing. And, the thing is that this was about human trafficking for children. That's really upsetting for people. But that shit's going on in your hometown right now. Sexual abuse is very prevalent in physical abuse, sexual abuse. All these things are very prevalent. And kids are often mistreated everywhere in the world. But no one gives a shit about those kids. No one gives a shit about kids in their own towns. People in, your extended family or whatever. But all of a sudden you care about it when it's, you might care about it, but like you're obsessed with Jeffrey Epstein and these elite because people are obsessed with these elite. And Trump is the elite. Like Trump hobnobs with the elite. He's an elitist. He doesn't give a shit about you. The common people are for him to use. And so all this information was made up by people, and it saturated the truth community. And I talked about it when it was happening. I've talked about it afterwards. The dumbass flat earthers, the dumbass fucking cubies, and all these other people that just wreck the truth community with their bullshit. Not being responsible, not looking for the truth, not being truth seekers, thinking it was okay to lie and make shit up about, whatever it was. And so the Jeffrey Epstein thing was completely tainted. And, Trump pandered to these people. He told them that he, agreed with them and that they're going to get to the bottom of it. And so did she and Kash Patel and all these other motherfuckers, right? They all pandered to the fucking Jeffrey Epstein morons out there who were making up information. And so, and whatever information out there is damaging to Trump and his friends. And so they can't release the fucking truth. We all know Trump is fucking buddy with them, which we'll get back into in a moment here. And so, so they can't, at some point they were going to have to disappoint you, just like the Hillary Clinton thing. That was completely Trump's choice. No one gave a shit if Hillary Clinton went to jail. But if he put her in jail, he knew, because remember, this is what he just said, when it came to him, they went after him. Like, he didn't want to break the code of rich people going after rich people, of people in the club going after each other. And if they exposed the Jeffrey Epstein stuff, then all these other people would be exposing things that are related to their fucking double dealings. All these motherfuckers are either a part of some eyes wide shut kind of bullshit stuff that goes on, because they hobnob together, all these people. They're there's moral degenerates, and they're either complicit or they're involved. And we're talking about all these celebrities, all these powerful politicians. And the whole system would come down. If you knew what these people did behind closed doors, it would, not just in terms of human trafficking, but all of it, if they exposed what pieces of shit these people were, the whole system would come down, because it's all the elitist people, right? It's not just Jeffrey Epstein and whatever that guy's name is, the producer, Harvey Weinstein. Like, it's not just those two guys. It's not just Woody Allen. It's the whole fucking. It's all of Hollywood. It's all the politicians. They have this thing, the Franklin scandal with the kids from Boys Town being sexually abused and stuff like this. These guys are depraved people that think everyone else is there for their pleasure, for their to serve you. I mean, to serve them, right? You're there. You exist to serve Trump. That's how they think. You're the fucking muggles, right? You're just there to serve the elite. And so all these people that thought Trump was going to bring truth to the elite when he is the elite, and put out all this bullshit disinformation that fucked the truth community, and then allowed him to be elected without calling bullshit on his fake assassination attempt, was there to lie to you. There's no truthers. The fucking truth community failed so fucking epically. Everybody who went along with this shit without calling bullshit on Trump, and now says, oh, yeah, Trump sucks. Well, yeah, you should have seen it when, you thought he was better than Biden? He's fucking worse than Biden, because Biden has to answer to people. Biden was puppeted by, people who were, they had some level of, you can't get away with this, you can't get away with that. Trump just does whatever the fuck he wants, right? He doesn't give a shit about whatever, anybody else says. And he lies straight to your fucking face, whether it's about this or it's about that he cares about the deficit. He doesn't give a shit. The guy runs things into the ground. He's a bankrupt fucking magnate. He's a professional bankrupter.
JFK, MLK files as well. That's what I meant by that. Also, to the tens of thousands of video, they turned out to be child porn downloaded by that disgusting Jeffrey Epstein. Child porn is what they were. Never going to be released, never going to see the light of day. To him being an agent, I have no knowledge about that. We can get back to you on that. And the minute missing from the video, we released the video showing definitively. The video was not conclusive, but the evidence prior to it was showing he committed suicide. And what was on that, there was a minute that was off the counter. And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night.
The video is not conclusive. So you don't have videotape of him fucking committing suicide. There's a minute missing where some guys went in there and hung him.
They redo that video. It's old, from like 1999. So every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing. So we're looking for that video to release that as well, showing that a minute is missing every night. And that's it on Epstein.
That's it on Epstein. So closing the book on this, right? So the left-wing media is having a fail day, because they know this is something that Trumpers are going to have a problem with, and are having a problem with. What a piece of shit liar he is. It's to them. Like, he made promises and he doesn't deliver. Okay, before we get into this other stuff with Trump and Epstein, Trouty Trump, Fishboy, one of my viewers sent me this, says 18 hilarious phrases. Just 29.29. Trouty Trump. So, they got the Fishboy thing going, right? It always comes around, like whatever bullshit things I make up there, that they always circle back around, and someone fucking, whether they know about it from me or not, they just I've been calling him Fishboy forever. This witch here, Nicole Walls, MSNBC's having a field day. I saw this on Morning Joe, but I think they cover it here a couple different ways, and then on CNN as well. They're loving this right now because they know this weakens Trump with his base.
As someone who I think has labored alongside me to understand why the base tolerates all the destruction of norms, of institutions, of decency, what they get back from him is this fellow journeyman in sticking it to the libs, sticking it to the media, sticking it to the elites. And this seems very politically perilous for Trump to side with the institutions, the elites, the establishment, and the last Justice Department.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's perilous. I don't know, Nicole. You know, I swear, you know, I just went on the interweb over here and I typed in Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein photos, and like on the Getty site alone, there's like 220 of them or something. Now I'm not sure all those are actually pictures of the two of them together, but there's a bunch of them together.
Okay, so let me see if I find the Maury Joe thing, because that's where they actually make fun of so-called conspiracy theorists, and at the same time, well, let me look to see that one.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that.
That was Attorney General Pam Bondi in February of this year saying she had the client list of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein, quote, on her desk. But that comment now clashes with a report this week from the DOJ and FBI, which stated there was no client list and Epstein did not blackmail the people who took part in his crimes. The conflicting stories have led to backlash from many on the right.
So Trump isn't aware of this, and I'll get into that in a second, but his people are. And when they did this document drop, when they're going to drop something like, guess what? All that shit you believed about Jeffrey Epstein is fake, and we lied to you about having information, or we are withholding it, or whatever it is, and you're just going to have to eat it. They did it at a certain time, like when there's natural disasters and other things, right? When Trump is bringing those things up, right? Ways to deflect. Like they always have ways to deflect built into the, the negative stories, the things that are going to have backlash, which shows that they are aware that they're fucking all their people, all the right-wing Trumpers, that they're about to say a big fuck you to you guys. And you guys are full of shit, and we don't care about you or anything you believe in. We've used you. We fucking used you, you piece of shit. That's what they're saying, right? I mean, they're calling you a piece of shit, not me. It's them saying that. It's them saying, hey, you dumb fucks. We're going to do what we promised, and you just fell for it. Even though we showed you over and over again that Trump is a piece of shit scammer, you still fell for it.
Who had demanded some kind of a bombshell revelation in the Epstein case. Let's bring in NBC News national law enforcement and intelligence correspondent Tom Winter. Tom, good morning. You've been following this story, the Epstein story, for many, many years, but this piece of it is fascinating because it proves, in the case of perhaps the FBI director and his deputy, it's a lot easier to kind of lob bombs and promote conspiracy theories from the outside than once you get on the inside and you have the facts in front of you, obviously disappointing a lot of people in their circle.
So what you should be aware of as a truth seeker and people who are against pieces of shit like Willie Geist and Morning Joe and all this MSNBC, and I'm going to show you exhaustive coverage, he gets to say shit like that because dumb motherfuckers who were, dumb fuck Trumpers came in with a bunch of bullshit, and they purposefully, and it wasn't just them, it was also disinformation agents possibly working for the government and people just trying to make a quick buck, making salacious claims, making things that are, over the top, that are things that are going to create clickbait that weren't true at all. And then the stuff with the QBs and all that stuff with Q drops. And because these things were said, he gets to say stuff like this, that people like Pam Bondi and Kash Patel will make claims, along with Donald Trump and his people, that they're going to unleash the Epstein files with full knowledge that the people who are, they agree with things that are false, just like Trump did with the fucking, they're eating the dogs, right? Making up shit for the moment to appeal to people's lower base nature and confirm to these dumb fucks that they're not dumb fucks and that they've been right all along. And they now have a person in power that's going to show that world that these right-wing dumb fucks have been, they've been right all along. And instead of, what needs to happen, which is people are balanced, like we all admit that we're being lied to, which gets covered up now because Willie Geist gets to say, when they have the facts in front of them, these conspiracy theories fall apart. Well, we don't know these are the facts. We don't know what the facts are because the government doesn't release the facts. And the reason is if this thing is what people think it is, it would be so widespread that there wouldn't be a Hollywood person or, enough Hollywood people and enough politicians left that it hadn't been completely discredited. And it would show you that the people at the top of the system are completely corrupt. And that would basically break the system. If everybody, like when they start ratting each other out, right? Because that's what happens. They serve up a few people and they start ratting each other out. I mean, the way to do it is to kill one guy, Jeffrey Epstein, and bury the thing. And that's why they did it. And so whatever the truth is here, you'll never know it. Because there's too much disinformation out there and nobody wants to release it. Because it's one of those truths that threatens the system. And that's something everybody should be aware of. It's one of the truths that could take the system down. And do you want the system to come down? I mean, that, I do, but not really, like I do in principle. I do in terms of what, would open up a door to a more spiritual, renaissance or something even beyond that, a spiritual evolution, which is part of the plan according to the Sajmark system and the system I believe in, that the system has to come down for something better to take its place. But that's all good and good and fine. But in terms of our human selves, the surviving without the system and going through the chaos of a system coming down would be very difficult in the short term. But it would be a bullshit reason to go down because of the some Jeffrey Epstein things, and that's why they don't. No one's going to tell you the truth. They're never going to tell you the truth about something that threatens the system. But now these guys get to come in and say, because these guys will all come back to it's just there's no conspiracy here. They'll always come back to that. Trump flirted with the truth community in 2016. He flirted with the birthers for Barack Obama. And he went on Alex Jones. And he did these various fucking, the shill Alex Jones. And then as soon as he was elected, he forgot about everybody. He did this with Kennedy. He promised Kennedy that RFK Jr. that he would be in charge of the healthcare system in 2016. He had good conversations with him. That's what Kennedy said. And then Pfizer offered Trump $1 million and he dumped Kennedy. And this is what Trump will always do. Let me show the rest of this. I want to get into this exact thing that he does. And once I say it, it'll be like, oh yeah, that's totally true. I mean, anybody with half of, any ability for critical thinking skills could be able to see it. It's easy to see. Let me show you the rest of this clip first.
Yeah, and so the big question here is, how did this idea of Epstein having a client list ever get started? Because it's never been based in evidence or fact. I've never come on here in the decade plus I've been covering Epstein and the probably a dozen times that I've been on this set speaking to you all about a development in the case or investigation and said, and by the way, breaking news this morning, there's a client list involving Jeffrey Epstein, and here's all the people that are on it. Has it been rumored about that there could have been other people that Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, convicted, by the way, sitting in prison, that they could have involved in their sex or involved with other individuals that they brought into it? There have been rumors of that.
So let's start here. I already showed you the clip of Hillary and Trump saying he protected her. I protected her, right? But before this was a second debate. This was Trump's finest moment in all the debates. And he was good at these little jabs and stuff. But this was his best one.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Yeah, because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
It was a kaboom moment. Like it's a kaboom. For dumb fucks and, people, I mean, just in general, I enjoyed it, but like, but, for dumb fucks who like want to put you, Hillary going to jail would have been fine. Hillary isn't the fucking, she's not the elite, right? She's not the, Hillary, as much as the right wing hated her, there's layers of people, there's levels of people above her. And she's in the, political puppet level. but people hated her because she was Hillary, and rightfully so, unlikable person, but not a big deal, right? It's not going to change anything, but it would have been nice to see her in jail, right? Would just would be good. I mean, for lots of people, just because she sucks, but wouldn't have made a big deal. But Trump used it at every one of his rallies. People would yell, "Lock her up," and he'd talk about all the crimes she committed, and then he comes out, which I showed you earlier, and says, "I protected her." So he lied to all those people because everyone thought he was going to lock her up, right? Did anybody not think he was going to lock her up? Because maybe you think, well, he'll change his mind, but it was a campaign promise. So I want to show you these things, right? These brief little clips of the past, and then I'm going to say what I think. I'm pretty sure, based in all the evidence, you see people behave a certain way. You see a behavior, and then you got to go, well, what is going on inside of them? And that's one of the things I do well, figuring out what goes on inside of people, because of my training as a counselor, as my training as a spiritual, preceptor and things, just how I am, and being introverted. And often, even as a young kid, I would think about, what makes people do certain things. What made that person make that decision, right? You see the decision, but what happened inside of that person to make that decision? So first, let's go to this piece here.
Donald Trump is seemingly already going back on one of his campaign promises. You'll remember he promised to appoint a special prosecutor to investigate Hillary Clinton for using a private email server that happened during one of the debates. Well, listen to what he said at one of these thank you rallies just last night.
It's a gumball guy, the guy who counted Trump lies and gumballs. Favorite CNN person. Lock her up.
Before the election, now we don't care.
Now we don't care. They're yelling, lock her up. They fucking still care, asshole. Now we don't care. He's speaking for all those people, right? Now we don't care, but the rest of the people care. How many people still care about Hillary being locked up? How many of Trump supporters would like to see Hillary behind bars? Why don't we care, Trump? We care. You don't care, motherfucker. And so that's Exhibit A. And then there's this one.
Jailhouse tape on the night of the 7th.
Yeah, sure. If I
Pam, could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. You're unbelievable if you're a Trump supporter who's still waiting for the promises that you made and that she made and these other people made, campaign promises you made, and they're all wanting that. So, well, what? Like, they still care. We don't care anymore. Well, they still care. You don't speak for everyone, or do you think you do, right?
Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this where we're...
Of course they are. Like, you can't believe it? It's unbelievable. All you do is talk about how fake news is against you, fish boy, right? Fish boy. But, now you couldn't... I can't believe that, right?
Having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas. It just seems like a desecration, but you go ahead.
So it's a desecration. You're desecrating this great accomplishment of this great man by suggesting he fulfill his campaign promises. And the liberal media is not the one who gives a shit about Jeffrey Epstein. And so when he said, I don't care. We don't care. We don't care about that anymore, right? No, we care. Your Trumpers, they care. They totally care, right? This is their still number one thing. Well, why does he say that? Like, what's going on inside of him? I want to show you two more things here.
Who were really the powerful people? Was it the director of CIA? Was it FBI? Was it the big pharma? Was it military-industrial complex guys that are General Dynamics? Who were the people like, oh, I got you. You have, I never thought you had power. Who actually has
the
power?
The most powerful person by far, the president. Power over everybody. Power. The power is enormous.
Most people don't believe that.
It is. But there is a sort of a deep state. And a lot of that's people that have been there. And then there's
sort of a deep state.
There's some bad guys, there's some bad people. Then there's a radical left, which I think are more dangerous in many ways than the other countries.
Okay, so there's a deep state. Like, talking about this, it was a terminology. He wouldn't even acknowledge the Cubies at first. He said, but I hear they're good people. I don't know anything about them, right? He said this in 2016. But I hear that they're against here. Let me go see I can find that one. Let me show you a couple of things. Look, it's Full Fish Boy. I'm not even trying. Full Fish Boy.
While we're denouncing, let me ask you about QAnon. It is this theory that Democrats are a satanic pedophile ring and that you...
Okay, QAnon is not a theory. She doesn't even know what QAnon is. She's supposed to be a reporter, right? Like that's not the theory. QAnon theory is that there is a person with Q level intelligence clearance, the highest level, is doing Q drops because he has to enlist a bunch of dumb fucks because he can't do anything from the inside. But he needs a bunch of dumb fucks to have classified information because you guys can really help him with your little QB decoder rings and fucking spy glasses you get in your cereal boxes, junior detective bullshit, right? Like that this person with this level of clearance and the people around him, because there's a secret bunch of Q fighting people, deep state fighting people within the government, and Donald Trump and RFK Jr., John F. Kennedy Jr. is still alive, the other people are still alive, and that there are these Q drops coming from this piece of shit who's really a part of the intelligence community, who's working these dumb fucks to use them as an asset against the truth community and all of us, right? That's what it really is. And she doesn't even know that, but he knows even less. And, you know, the QAnon was this was when QAnon was at their peak.
Are the savior of that. Now, can you just once and for all... that you are the savior of that. Now, can you just once and for all state that that is completely not true and that disavow QAnon in its entirety?
I know nothing about QAnon.
I just told you.
I know very little. You told me, but what you tell me doesn't necessarily...
Why wouldn't he know about QAnon? Like, they were some of his biggest supporters. Why wouldn't he know, right? Why wouldn't he know? Like, and they were playing this, QAnon people were playing this, and you know, why wouldn't he say, I know what they are? He knows what they fucking are. Or he's completely, you know, gets bored by it and doesn't want to hear about it. But he should have known what they are, right? And he started using the term deep state all the time this time around. You know, he embraced QAnon this time around.
Make it fact. I hate to say that. I know nothing about it. I do know they are very much against pedophilia. They fight
Jeffrey Epstein, right?
it very hard, but I know nothing about it.
They believe it is a satanic cult run by the deep
study
state.
the subject. I'll tell you what I do know about. I know about Antifa, and I know about the radical left.
So he denies their knowledge of that, but he started using these things, right? And why would he know about Antifa? Like, you know, that previous comment with that guy, whatever that dude's name is, where he was being interviewed, and the guy's talking about all these powerful entities, and Trump's like, the president's the most powerful, because he's feeling challenged, right? But why would he know about Antifa and these other groups, but not know about QAnon? Of course he would know, but he doesn't want to, like, he wants to keep them believing in him, right? He doesn't want to disenfranchise them. He doesn't want them feeling like he's, you know, he doesn't want to go against them, whatever that word is, they denounce them. And, you know, but he doesn't want to look like an idiot because he knows what they're full of shit. And so, and he doesn't really know about anything, which we'll get into in a moment. Let me show you this one thing here. So then there's this.
Within hours of Jeffrey Epstein's apparent suicide, President Trump was retweeting a conspiracy theory linking Bill Clinton to his death.
Jeffrey Epstein had information on Bill Clinton, and now he's dead.
It was immediately picked up by Russian state media, going viral. A Clinton spokesperson calling the tweet ridiculous and, of course, not true, but a top Trump advisor defending it.
I think the president just wants everything to be investigated.
For the president...
Does he? Well, I think he's over it, right? Why it's disgusting to do it now. I mean, it's just sacrilege. Why would you do it when there's kids dying in Texas from floods? Why would you be interested in Jeffrey Epstein now? Okay, so I showed you this 3 videos or 4 videos ago. And I missed something. I thought about it afterwards, and I was like, and I pulled the video back up after I'd X'd out of it. Let me show you here.
Why hasn't he had been held accountable, or anybody really.
Well, you know, pardons were given out by many to many people, and they shouldn't have been given out. Like the Unselect Committee of Political Thugs was given a pardon because they destroyed all of the information from 2 years of hearings, and they should be arrested, but they were given pardons. Was he given a pardon, Mayorkas? Was he not?
I don't believe so.
Well, I take a look at.
So he's asking the fake news, unless this guy is, one of his people. I think this guy is one of his people. But he's asking him if Mayorkas was given a pardon. Like, why would you be asking the media about this? Like the same thing with Savannah Guthrie knowing more about QAnon. Trump does not want to know anything. Trump gets bored. I've covered this in so many videos, but we know this for a fact. Trump has admitted he gets bored. He said that thing where he talked about getting bored with, let's see if I have that meme here.
Not somebody that I don't think most people have ever heard of. He found it very boring and he left early. He got off the line very early. So to break into a system. Now in this case it wasn't that this attack was going on and nobody found out anything. And again, the person that was on, as I understand it, he left very early because he didn't find it very exciting.
So this was about Signalgate, and this gave you a clue to what goes on inside Trump, which I was aware of, but this just made it so obvious. Because the guy, I forget the guy's name, because like Trump said, nobody knew who he was. His big moment was he got included in a chat. Imagine if you got included in a chat where they're about to drop bombs on fucking Yemen, and you're a liberal reporter that, hates Trump, and people said this guy's a, Mossad agent, whatever, that he was included that reason, but whatever it is. But like, this is your moment where you're going to have fucking, Trump is just, and his DeBozo fucking team has just allowed you to see classified information. It's a major fuck up. And the guy in his magazine had a week-long run where they were center of attention. It's the biggest moment in his career. And Trump says he got bored and left, right? Because Trump gets bored. Trump is bored by governing. I've said it over and over again. It's very clear. And so this is, this is all you need to know what goes on inside of Trump. He thinks anything to do with policy and these things is boring and doesn't want to know about it, which makes him a completely ineffective leader and kind of a shitty person and a very uncurious person and certainly not a truther or somebody seeking the truth. Okay, so before I get into what my stuff about Trump, and then I want to come back and show you some of these video clips from these guys having their own Google-gasms from this happening. This was this reaction here.
Sharing a bunch of what turned out to be previously reported in the public domain information. They had repackaged into a bunch of fancy binders, which they handed out to people. And so when the DOJ comes back basically yesterday and says, you know what, looked at it and turns out nothing to see here. Well, now that same right-wing media ecosystem is absolutely fuming.
The whole thing that this tape shows he didn't kill himself is like a joke. But worse than that, it's a joke that we all get. Like, they're not fooling anybody. So I feel like we're at a dangerous point now.
So now by coming in and being part of the cover-up, the Trump administration has become part of it. I mean, it's just you cannot see it.
They already were part of it. Like these pieces of shit now. Again, if these pieces of shit are saying it, what are the people that claim to be real truthers saying now? Again, like I'm talking about, it was obvious that Trump, no one should have taken Trump seriously after Operation Warp Speed. There should have been no thought he's going to fucking change anything. That should have been done. People should have been like, all right, this guy's just a part of the problem. And really his whole presidency. Like, he was never a hero. He was never a truther. He was never any of these things. But when he comes back to run for re-election and he pulls off a fake event, he also was doing that bullshit thing, which I showed that meme. I'm not going to show it here. The compilation of various candidates seeing somebody faint in the audience. So he's already doing political theater. Trump was good at doing political theater. He's already lied to people multiple times about all these things. He lies all the time, right? And so, he lies to people about what he's going to do. It breaks promises. And he clearly doesn't believe in any of those things, right? We see that. He doesn't believe in anything. He doesn't have his own belief. He's not curious. He doesn't know anything. He doesn't care about anything. And he tells people what they want to hear. And then reverses it at his convenience, which we'll get into. And this was all obvious. But all these fucking people like, this piece of shit and Tucker and that went along with that fake assassination attempt, not only did they go along with it, but they said, they're trying to kill this guy. They're trying to kill him. The deep state's trying to kill him. I mean, that's the kind of shit they were saying. All these fucking bullshit truthers. And now what happens, right? Like, what are you going to do with the fact that you got owned so fucking bad by this piece of shit? Even if you just said, somebody wrote a comment to me saying that, well, there is somebody worse than him, and it's Gavin Newsom. And I'm like, you think Gavin Newsom's worse? They're all the fucking same. When are you going to fucking get it? Doesn't matter. Whoever they put in there is going to do whatever they can do to preserve a country that should have fucking collapsed years ago. If we were going to be honest, like I said in 5 videos ago, we'd pray to God and say, God, give us exactly what we deserve. We're ready for it. Let's just not, whatever we deserve, just give it to us. With good, bad, ugly. And the system would then collapse because the system's a horrible system. It's a demonic system that we're all dependent on. And so, this is just a big lie that we're all perpetrating, that there's good guys and bad guys, and it's all the same shit. We're all doing something that's wrong. We're all participating in an abomination.
Any other way. So I just got to the office. I'm gonna go throw up actually, and this only happens every few years when something really, really bad happens or something.
How is he still on the air?
I'm physically gonna puke probably right now. My mouth is watering right now because
it's okay, Alex.
Because I have integrity. And
come on, he went off on Trump multiple times before. Like this is when you realize Trump's a piece of shit, right?
I just really need the Trump administration to succeed and to save this country, and they're doing so much good.
They're doing so much good. Did he endorse the big beautiful bill?
And then for them to do something like this tears my guts out.
Do you see what you've done, Pam Bondi? You have made Alex Jones cry and possibly puke, which he only does a few times a year because of how much integrity he has.
It's actually funny. This lesbian is really kind of funny. All right, let me tell you this stuff about Trump. See, this is two things about Trump. He breaks deals, right? Which we know. He would negotiate something with vendors, poor people, not poor people, but people who are, hardworking people that aren't on his level of status and income. And he would abuse these people and break the contracts he had with them because he knew that they didn't have the ability to sue him successfully without costing them more money than the renegotiated deal that he was going to make, that he was going to bully them into. And I heard this from this barber I talked about. I mean, it's been said over and over again. People have talked about this. You can go look it up, all the people who have worked with Trump and Trump business, and Trump would fuck them over and renegotiate the deal to his benefit. And this was his art of the deal shit, where he had all the cards, where he had all the, he had the fucking, all the power. He has the better lawyers, he has the resources, he has the fame. And so these guys thought that they would be getting, rich off of Trump, who's a rich guy, but he's a cheap fuck, right? And he breaks deals. He makes promises to people. And he realizes, these guys are going to want an in with Trump, right? Trump is a famous person. They think he's going to help their business. Like if you're a vendor and you're going to supply something to his, a contractor or something like this, and he doesn't pay. He didn't pay Rudy Giuliani, who he wrecked that guy's fucking life. And Rudy Giuliani now has this exorbitant lawsuit against him. $160 million he owes or some crazy shit like that. And he's hawking fucking bills out there, which I've showed you the video. And he stiffed him. He didn't pay him. He didn't pay his own fucking lawyer. He, stiffed Michael Cohen. He's a cheap fuck, according to Chris Christie and many people. And so the guy screws people over. He lies to you, makes you feel like he's with you. And then when it comes to pay or for him to do, like you do whatever you're going to do for him, and he expects you to do that. And now he's treating you like he's your Lord and Savior, all your Trumpers. And that all these promises he made, oh, we don't care about that anymore. He speaks for you because he thinks, oh, I'm doing all these great things. I'm saving the country. I'm making America great again, where he's just looting the fucking country and bringing in fucking horrible people to do shitty jobs. He's taking down what's left of this fucking demonic system, which ultimately he's doing God's work, but not intentionally, not consciously. And then he expects you to give up the things that you believe in, give up on the things you promised, because he doesn't see anything beyond himself. I mean, this is, narcissism on steroids, right? He thinks whatever's good for Trump is good for America. Whatever's good for Trump is good for you, even if you suffer, even if you can't buy your daughter's Barbie dolls. All these things he said about all that shit, all this cheap shit you were getting from China, because it's tariffs. That's good for Trump. Trump wants to do his tariffs, so if you have to suffer and you don't have the things that you need, or your company goes under because of the tariffs, well, fuck you. It doesn't matter, because it's not whatever's good for Trump. That's make America great again is really what's good for Trump, right? America first is Trump first, and that's all he sees. He thinks he's God, and that whatever you have to endure to serve him is what you should do. You should sacrifice and serve this great man. Like, that's a cult. Like a cult, the definition of a spiritual organization, the spiritual leader or master sacrifices their needs to bring God to you, to help you connect to God. Like, that's a real spiritual organization. A cult expects you to sacrifice your needs to fulfill his desires. And that's what Trump is. He's a cult leader. And so this is, it's just been there for you to see all along. When he was on The Apprentice, when he ran the first time, and everything that he says, it's about him. And the number of times he's gone back on his promises to his dumb fuck people that speak on coming back to him and say, thank you, sir, may I have another?
We now consecrate the bond of obedience. Assume the position.
Thank you, sir. May I have another? Thank you, sir. May I have another? Thank you, sir. May I have another?
This idea that you think you're going to get something from Trump, that Trump's fighting for you, like he gives a shit about you. Like, that's the problem. Like, if you've bought into that bullshit, that he gives a shit about America, that he even gives a shit about the economy, or any of these things. Trump only gives a shit about one thing, and it's himself. And maybe partly his family, that's an extension of himself, but he's got that weird fucking thing with his daughter, whatever it is, right? But Trump just cares about himself, like whatever's best for Trump. Trump first, not America first. America first, like I said, is narcissism. And so, all these people thought Trump was going to go, fuck other people and pass on the savings to you, right? He fucks other people over and passes on the savings to you. Why would he do that? He's a criminal, right? You got a criminal you put in there, or someone with a criminal mentality, and again, not a godly person, will lie about anything to make you think that he's on your side. He's not. And he does this because of what's going on inside of him, which is complete narcissism and selfishness, right? And so let's get back to these other things here. I have a few more clips, and then we can wrap this up. Okay, so fuck. I want to cover this first thing in my next video. This is about Ukraine and Russia, and I'm not going to comment on any of the other stuff, including Trump saying Putin is bullshitting. Trump, one of the biggest bullshitters in the world, but none of this I'm going to comment on. I just want to show you one bit to it, and I'm going to come back my next video and dissect this whole thing because it's hilarious.
Breaking overnight, Russia launches its largest drone attack on Ukraine since the beginning of the war. Ukrainian officials say the massive aerial assault involved more than 700 drones, but it was largely repelled. Moscow's escalation follows a remarkable 48 hours in the White House, where President Trump yesterday vented his frustration with Russian President Vladimir Putin, something you don't see that often.
We get a lot of bullshit thrown at us by Putin, for you want to know the truth. He's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless.
Trump calling BS.
Calling BS.
In that cabinet meeting, He also said Ukraine would have the weapons it needs to defend itself. It's a notable turn for the president. Just last week, his administration paused the delivery of some missiles to Ukraine. Our Caitlin Collins asked him about that yesterday.
Last week, the Pentagon paused some shipments of weapons to Ukraine. Did you approve of that pause?
We wanted to put defensive weapons because Putin is not, he's not treating human beings right. He's killing too many people. So we're sending some defensive weapons to Ukraine, and I've approved that.
So who ordered the pause last week?
I don't know. Why don't you tell me?
I don't know. Why don't you tell me? Holy shit. Did you say to Caitlin Collins about something that your administration is doing that's classified? Are you allowing her on the fucking signal chats where you're too bored to fucking pay attention, you piece of shit? Right? So all this stuff is great. I want to come back to this. But did you just fucking ask Caitlin Collins? I don't know. Why don't you tell me? Like this guy's a complete chucklehead. And here's the answer, which is fucked, right? This is everything I'm talking about here.
I think that's a question for the Pentagon.
Go ahead.
I think that's a question for the Pentagon. Wait, let's watch that part again. That's hilarious.
I don't know. Why don't you tell me?
I think that's a question for the
Go
Pentagon.
ahead.
I think that's... What the fuck are you asking me for? I'm just some dopey reporter at CNN.
That was awkward because Pete Hegseth, his Secretary of Defense, was sitting right there with him. And new CNN reporting on what happened behind the scenes gives you some insight. Multiple sources telling CNN Hegseth did not give the White House a heads up before he authorized that pause on weapons shipments.
Okay, so there are a bunch of chuckleheads over there, which we know. It's like, it's fucking Three Stooges over there. I mean, it's bad. It's Don Knotts over there. So, and that's a whole other thing. But Trump doesn't know anything that's going on, doesn't care, doesn't want to govern, doesn't want to listen to his briefings, doesn't want to know any of the policies that he's doing, doesn't want to read the bills, doesn't want to sit in on any of the important meetings. He wants to be in front of everybody, but there's problems because he ends up asking reporters to tell him if somebody was pardoned or who ordered the pause, when the guy who ordered the pause is sitting right next to him. But either Trump got the memo and didn't read it, or Pete Hegseth didn't tell him. You never know what the truth is because these guys are lying motherfuckers, some of the worst grifters that we've ever had, but they're dumb on top of it, right? And he's myopic, and he thinks whatever's best for him is best for America, is best for you, and you have just to eat all the shit he's shoveled into your mouth for years, telling you that he was going to do things that he wasn't going to do. And as truthers, truth seekers, you should have smelled this motherfucker out when he first ran for president, and all along the way, and all these truthers that voted for him and were pushing him, all these clowns that say that this guy's going to take down the elite and the deep state, when he is the elite and the deep state in the worst possible way. Okay, so I want to wrap this one up. Let's watch a few more little bits of this video here. Again, he's making the media relevant again. Like he's making the media real again. Right? It's no longer fake news because Trump's providing them real news. Trump has got caught lying about Jeffrey Epstein, covering up for Jeffrey Epstein, all these things. And, lying to either way, he's fucked. Because either him and his people, they lie to their voters, their potential voters, about Jeffrey Epstein, and when there was no evidence, and they did this all along, and then they delivered nothing on their promises to these people, and so they lied about that. If this is the truth, what he's saying now, that there is nothing else on him, there is no other evidence. Of course, there's got to be something. I mean, there's no way there's nothing. So they're lying about all this stuff, covering it up. He was a good friend of Jeffrey Epstein, which he said. He called him a terrific guy, and now he's pretending he didn't know him. And he's covering this up and telling his people, you should just worship the ground I walk on because I'm the great one, Trump, the chosen one. And everything that I do turns to gold, even though it turns to shit and bankruptcy, right?
This comes after his Attorney General, Pam Bondi, basically spent months hyping some sort of big reveal from the Department of Justice. Epstein, of course, the disgraced New York financier who died in federal custody back in 2019 while facing child sex trafficking charges related to what prosecutors says was a years-long scheme to abuse young women. A new memo from the DOJ reiterates the department's position that Epstein was not murdered, noting, quote, after a thorough investigation, FBI investigators concluded that Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide in his cell.
That's not what he said, right?
They even released nearly 11 hours of security camera footage from outside Epstein's cell that night of his death. Although that will likely do little to quell the ongoing conspiracies, especially considering the video is missing an entire minute. The DOJ attributes that to a long-standing glitch with the system.
They got a glitch. They just happen at a minute-long glitch where somebody comes in, hangs the motherfucker, and then leaves.
Despite all the Epstein didn't kill himself memes and the never-ending, increasingly Baroque conspiracies, the
conspiracies.
MAGA faithful are really mad about this part of the memo. Quoting it here. This systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. There was no credible evidence found that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals as part of his actions. We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. Now, that claim that there was no shadowy client list, ostensibly containing evidence that Epstein was secretly blackmailing political and financial and Hollywood elites, certainly seemed to contradict what Trump's own attorney general said on television back in February.
One of the things that you alluded to, and this is something Donald Trump has talked about, the DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey.
Yeah, we saw this already. All right, there's Alex Jones crying. I don't know if there's anything else here. There's him and
to leer at women. And we remember when Trump famously told New York Magazine, I've known Jeff for 15 years.
All right, so they got all the same stuff. We might say something here.
Clinton's behavior, I'm wondering, do you feel that she's going to turn in powerful men? How do you see that working out?
I don't know. I haven't really been following it too much. I just wish her well, frankly. I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. But I wish her well, whatever it is.
Her friend or boyfriend,
Epstein,
was either killed or committed suicide in jail. She's now in jail. Yeah, I wish her well. I'd wish you well. I'd wish a lot of people well. Good luck.
Do you remember that? Remember that when Maxwell was being tried for sex trafficking and Donald Trump was asked about her and his first instinct was to be like, I wish her well. Used to know her back in the day in Palm Beach, saw her all the time.
Okay, so, whatever. There's that. I don't know if there's anything more here. I'll check out these other videos. Okay, so this is the last one here.
Quote, how can people be expected to have faith in Trump if he won't release the Epstein files? That post by Elon Musk this afternoon gets at a serious question, prompted by MAGA fans, among others, after the Justice Department asserted in a memo that convicted sex offender and multimillionaire Jeffrey Epstein did not blackmail high-profile clients, was not murdered before he was found dead in his jail cell. The founder took to his platform X as his alliance with President Trump dissolved. Quote, time to drop the really big bomb. Trump is in the Epstein.
Remember that from before. Something here about, we know about that thing they said here. What's this one here?
October 2024.
Everybody in politics has a vice that's much worse than alcoholism, is the way that I put it. But we
release the list.
Seriously, we need to release the Epstein list. That is an important
Seriously, this motherfucker
thing.
Here's Kash Patel on a podcast just over a year before he became FBI director.
Why is the FBI protecting the greatest pederast, the largest scale pederast in human history?
Simple, because of who's on that list.
Dan Bongino, a former Secret Service agent turned right-wing podcaster, is now the FBI deputy director. Here he is on his show in February. He was named deputy director just a few weeks later.
I'm not ever going to let this story go because of what I heard from a source about Bill Clinton on a plane with Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not letting it go, ever. Ever.
Ever, ever. Forever, ever? Forever, ever? I'm not going to do the meme because I want to get through this thing here.
Being made public, despite Trump's Justice Department basically now saying case closed. This isn't going to go away.
When Pam Bondi went on television and said, I have a videotape of kids getting abused, I followed this case closely, and I know a lot of the people involved, as I've told you. Mm-hmm. I had no idea. I didn't know that. Really? Thousands of children got raped? Yeah. Who raped them? Where are the rapists? Like, why aren't they in jail? This is the Department of Justice.
Yes.
That is so crazy. This is honestly one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my entire life. And I just think it's very dangerous to play around with this stuff. Like, very dangerous.
To play around with it. What the fuck play around with it? You mean cover it up? You know, like you're saying they either lied to the people about having the list and, you know, they encouraged delusional thinking by the MAGA people, or they completely covering this up for whatever reason, that they can't release these things because there's too damaging, whatever the reason is, whatever reason that they're not they're not. You know, Trump said he's going to unload all these things, and none of these things are the the JFK files were nothing. I mean, clearly, you know, they didn't release everything. And then the stuff here. And it makes these guys gloat because it makes these mainstream media people gloat because it was apparently, you know, for them, they call Trump a part of this truth movement, these, you know, crazy right-wing conspiracy theorists, as they would refer to them, and that Trump can't deliver because there are no conspiracies. And now they get to gloat, and they get to gloat about all this bullshit and how their news is the real news and you guys are fake news, and because Trump's handed that to them. Which, fuck you for doing that too, right? Fuck him for that.
I don't want a revolution, but if you wanted a revolution, this is how you would act.
All right, Jamal, what do you think hearing that from Tucker?
Well, first of all, Tucker is being dangerous by alluding to something like a revolution.
Oh my God, really?
Talking about the MAGA people, because we know that MAGA forces have been willing to use violence in pursuit of their political aims. We saw it on January 6th. You know.
All right, Jesus fuck.
Bondi, she's a disgrace.
Hey, Laura's look.
Hammering Pam Bondi on social media. She posted, "How come we can't talk about what a dumb, lying bimbo Pam Bondi is? JD Vance, please encourage President Trump to fire Pam Bondi. She's a disgrace."
Laura Loomer, remember Trump is getting his political advice from this fucking horrible Israeli supporter. You know, you should know by now Trump's fucked. I mean, everybody should. And then you have to deal with the fact that you got worked. Especially if you're a truther and you're putting out truther videos and you got worked and you know, people go back to Trump because everyone desperately wants to fucking vote. Like, people can't go against their training and realizing voting, at least, I mean, locally it's something different. If you want to take an interest in local politics, that's something different. But there's, you know, our vote has nothing to do with voting has nothing to do with anything to do with our government. We know that. There's a study done, and money always wins. They did a study, and they don't need to. Wherever the money was on any particular issue, that side would win. And usually is one side has the money, and people are on one side, and the money's on the other. 80% of the people are on one side, and the money's on the other side. And so sometimes it's 50-50 because people can't see through it. But money and power are not something that you have. And so the only thing you have is the threat of rebellion, the threat of the mob going off. And they're not scared of that because if they don't do something soon, there won't be anything left, given the overpopulation, all these other things. And so this is, you know, them admitting what I've been saying for years without really admitting it, that none of this stuff matters. Who you vote for doesn't matter because nothing can be changed, nothing can be stopped. And all the things they said, you know, when Elon Musk came out and said, we're going to go bankrupt and we're going to, you know, basically our government's insolvent right now. And if we don't deal with the debt, and they didn't deal with the debt. But it's too late. Even if they did deal with the debt, it's too late. It should have been something dealt with back in 2014, 2008. I mean, even then it couldn't be done, but it should have been done. But it certainly can't be done now. The thing about it is the trap has always been you think you have to vote and you think you have to find some kind of solution within the system. And that the system's great and it's indestructible and we're number one, America's great, and we have such a rich history of great politics and policies and the Constitution, all these things. And that somewhere within that, whatever that is, in our system, we can find a solution. And then you look at the alternative, what the Democrats are shitting out, right, in terms of their politicians, and they're like, well, I don't know, at least Trump's better than that, or whatever stupid shit people say, right? But the reality is that we are fucking desperate. Our debt is fucking, I mean, we're insolvent. It's beyond anything that we could ever repay. And I'm not talking just about the national debt, but the real problem is the fucking people. Moral breakdown is the first sign of a collapsing empire. And we have moral breakdown across the globe. I mean, everybody's worse than they used to be. Everyone's more entitled and weaker. And people are just worthless. I mean, people can do almost nothing. And are, helplessly dependent on a system that's failing in every possible way. And to reverse that is impossible, but if you're going to reverse it, you'd need greatness, right? That's what Trump proposed to be, that he was some outsider business genius, and that he was going to somehow bring some common sense into the fucked up political corruption and put it into the deep state. And as childish as it sounded, some people fell for that. A lot of dumb fucks who are desperate and, just can't deal with the fact that we're fucked, right? In terms of our material system, we're fucked. But something better's on the way because, our current system is destroying our spiritual half of our existence. And it is turning people into monsters and demons and things. So, the longer it goes on and the worse it gets. Each generation gets worse. You notice that the kids today are worse than we were, and, it keeps on going down from there. But in all that, you have the reality that there is nobody saving us. And we can't save ourselves. This system is not at least from a systemic collapse. And then people have trouble dealing with that, so they rationalize it one way or another. But Trump is a fucking disaster. His second term is a disaster. And we're going, he's hitting on he's hitting for the cycle. On every level, whether it be social, whether it be economic, whether it's foreign policy, whether it's war, whether it's dealing with people, whether it's martial law. He's on the wrong side of everything, and he's pushing for dooms. It's like the doomsday it's like you take a pool of which thing's going to hit first, like an office pool, of which thing is going to hit first. And all the fucking so-called truthers should just reevaluate what you're doing here, because you're doing a disservice to your fucking audience when you endorse this piece of shit, right? It's really bad. But anyways, let me wrap this one up here. Only spirituality will save this world. It's paramount, definitely important for the apocalypse. And the ascension, everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.